Oh, hi everyone who's now watching this video. We already introduced ourselves because I forgot to press record, but you haven't missed a thing. So I really wanted to start with a little bit of a conversation before we jump right into nitty-gritties of curriculum. And that is to say, what does next fall look like for you? I think some of us are so desperate to get, quote, back to normal, whatever normal is, that we kind of just jump straight into doing what we've always done. And so I just invite you to reflect for a minute. What does fall look like for you? Have you done any reflection on how things might be different? I see some nodding. Ellen, so what have you been doing?
Well, I'm just agreeing with you in your thoughts. This First Pres Granville this year, we called it a year of learning because we knew that things weren't going to be the same. And so we took it as an opportunity to kind of experiment and listen. And so we've tried several things. We did a flock, we called it flock model, where, and this was more in COVID, but where we had families come to meet together. Mm-hmm. Like we'd have 7 to 8 families and in one room with a leader and another room with a leader. And so we did it sort of as a family. And we're talking about Sunday school. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm talking about. Sort of did a family Sunday school. And that worked well, like everything at the beginning. And then people dropped off. And then we did our worship time was different. So we did a Sunday school, we called it Faith Formation Hour, and we did it after worship because we worship at 10. And we took K through 3 together because we've always had enough to have separate classrooms, and we just haven't had that. The attendance has been really low. So we had 2 groups, 4 through 6, and we did one that was based on art, for the older ones. So that's kind of been the other thing that's happened that's been very effective is our Christian Ed committee, and don't gasp, we started meeting weekly and doing sort of a Lectio Divina before we got into the meet, and we do it in the morning. And we have found that that's been very revealing too. And it brought us to do a Wednesday night. So we opened up a Wednesday night free dinner, quick song, guitar, and prayer and Bible story. Mm-hmm. So those are the things that we've threw out there that have all been new and different. And Saturday we're having an hour-long reflection on where did we feel the Spirit and that. So
nice.
Yeah,
thanks. Other folks, what else what kind of reflections have you done either recently and or leading up to fall?
Can you guys hear me?
A little bit.
Okay.
So you talk nice and loud.
Well, I can do that. Something's funky in the audio, so I don't know what's going on. I take a minute to introduce myself instead of chat. I'm Susan Dietz from Logan First, and been involved in church ed about 40 years. So been there a while, taught every level. So probably we let our youth take over a great deal of the worship service in April. They were the ushers, they served communion, they made Easter packets to hand out Easter morning, and then made Easter packets for our community meal. And I loved how consistent the kids were because they had such a purpose in the church, not just coming to youth group. It was just a nice month.
Nice, great. It
was all month.
Yeah, every Sunday.
Nice.
We had 8 in the youth group and 8 came, so that helped.
Well, let me share with you 2 resources that maybe if you aren't familiar with them, you might find helpful. One was put out by the Faith Formation department from the denomination called Post-Pandemic Pondering and Planning. And it has, if you don't like watching scrolling, hold on, because I'm going to scroll real quick. But it had down here just some lines that I thought were really key. As your immersion pandemic, we're called to explore and think about faith formation for the coming months and years. Our aim may be the same as it was pre-pandemic, but we and our faith communities are not the same. We most likely cannot go back to doing things just like we did. So what this resource, and we're not going to take time right now to walk through it. If this is the kind of thing that would be helpful to you, we can do it at another time. We can say this is what we're going to do and walk and talk through. But let me just show you real quickly some of the things. Of course, they give you some overviews and this instructions. But they start with identifying moments when your ministry is flourishing, pre-pandemic, pandemic. You know, what does it tell you about your ministry? What are your hopes coming up? This one I thought was key. Consider your flock, who stayed, who was found, who is missing, and some activities to talk through with that. List your programs on the cycle of the church year, they suggest. But programs, their point is they're always living, dying, or rising. And ones that are dying, it's okay to let them die. And so again, I thought this was a helpful page, and they give you some more things to do about it. Talking about, are you virtual? Are you hybrid? Are you in person? How is that working? Is that a valuable tool or not? Some self-reflection. What's given you strength? Where have you seen I'm God at work? What are you mourning from the past year? And then what's next, kind of going through all of those pages, things that we need to know. So as I said, I thought it was a helpful resource. Even, you know, obviously to sit down with a group of folks for a couple hours is ideal, but even to pull out a few things that we think about. So that's in our list of resources that I'll send you.
Thank you.
Sort of in a little summary. It's not actually a summary from that document, but what I saw somewhere else I thought was also helpful. We get a little bit bigger here. What have you learned during the past year about yourself, the church, or the community? What do you hope we can take with us as we move out of the pandemic into a new normal? And this person wrote, I realize we're still in the pandemic. And if you watch the news tonight with numbers going up, what does church mean to you? Describe church in the newer post-COVID world. What does it look like? What does it feel like? So again, just, I would encourage your, even if you can't set aside a big, long conversation with your CE team, your planning team, your pastor, whoever you plan Christian Ed stuff with, to really take some time to reflect on these things. The next resource I want to share, just in terms of thinking about what the year has been like, was this article that's from the Synod of, I can't remember. I'll click it open in a minute. But basically, this is a summary point from their article, which really has convicted me. Mm-hmm. Churches need to prioritize discovering each of their family's answer to how are you doing before even contemplating setting plans in place for the fall. The answers you hear may help you to shape Sunday school or alternative options for September, but more importantly, these conversations offer an opportunity to rebuild relationships that were perhaps lost or let wither over the past years. And something that article, which again, I've shared on there, and you can read the whole thing. Like I said, it really convicted me. The article was really big on saying, don't call them with a, can you help with Sunday school, by the way, or with, you know, the question is, how are you doing? You know, and this is, you know, this is the end of the school year. So again, it's a great time, or first of summer. How has the school year been for you? What have been your stressors? How are you? And then how can the church better help you? And really that's, you know, that's it. That's the conversation to have. And some of you have much bigger groups to talk to. Some of you, it's a handful. But like I said, I'm both convicted and a tad overwhelmed by that, but I'm going to do it. I mean, our CE committee and or me, we meet next week to decide how we're if it needs to be from me or from them. I just don't know how we can jump into fall planning. I mean, I'm assuming most of you have noticed a reduction in kids coming to Sunday school. Is that fair?
Definitely.
Fair things. Now, our youth haven't dropped off, which is interesting. Our youth, we have almost all the youth have still coming, but preschool and elementary, we've noticed a considerable drop off. So really asking each parent, each family, how are you doing? What can we do? We're going to do that. Thoughts on that? Has anybody already done that? Or you feel like you don't really need that in your church? What are your thoughts on that?
Actually, we're kind of a little bit beyond trying to look at the whole thing, being a small congregation and an aged congregation. And we're working hard at some strategies to just connect with our community and say, how are you doing? What do you need? This Saturday, we're going to serve a community free breakfast. We don't know what we'll have. We've been weekly distributing Panera bread that we receive on Friday evenings outside the church and talking to people and connecting. And it's really been interesting how people are coming out of the community, and we're sort of rural, even though fast becoming part of the suburb, although it's still, 15, 20 miles out to Pataskla and Outville. We're partnering up with Pataskla Presbytery, and also that's what how we're gonna do our Bible school. And we did a 4-week round of the Good News Club late April, early May in one of the elementary schools because Pataskla had been doing that, and with COVID and everything and trying to do it with Zoom so they thought, well, we'll try to get a 4-week one going and see what happens as we think about fall.
Could you elaborate on what Good News Club is?
It's an organization and evangelistic, really helping the children to learn about the Bible and those basic kinds of things. And it's by law, schools must let you use facilities after school. And so we met there at the Kirkersville School.
At the school, okay.
But I'll just share with you, and Ellen, I only live about 3 miles outside of Granville. In Newark, in the Licking County, they're starting the Lifeway Academy. Hebron, Lakewood already has it going. And that's a time where the youth can be, with parent permission, dismissed. Now they have to leave the school grounds, but during school time, have an hour session. So some of that kind of stuff's going on around us.
Okay.
Yeah, Lifeway, I think even really started in either Westerville or New Albany. They're bringing.
You may be correct.
They're bringing it here to Gahanna. It's becoming regional, if not national. But my not even 2 cents. It's worth like half a penny. Thoughts on that? I think it has the potential to be good in that it gets kids, again, you've got to bus them or drive them or whatever. They can be in a church for an hour and to do character, basically it's character development is how they bill it through Bible story. I think, again, this is me, just me. In the wrong hands, I think you can have some really bad theology taught.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And so, I think that it comes all, they say, oh, no, we're not doing a Jesus is Savior, you go to hell. We're not going to say that. Well, what teachers do you have? What individual churches do you, how does that look? And the other, for those of us who are public school advocates, it's an hour they're missing a public school. And so they're either missing quiet music or art or gym to go somewhere else. Anyway, so Lifeway is, like I said, I think it's a mixed.
And Kathy, I wholeheartedly agree with you. And I was in the schools for 40 some years, and very much, although I was at the career tech level at juniors and seniors in high school, but and And there's that feeling too, that the kids may in effect be punished because they're gone for an hour and maybe the others get to do some fun things, or, how it's handled,
Right.
in that setting.
Yeah.
But I just share both of those movements that are going on right now, at least in Licking County.
Yes, thank you.
Good to know. Yeah.
Thank you. So anyway, so as I said, so contacting families before making real plans for the fall is certainly something that we're going to be doing. That's kind of the background that I just thought it was worth putting some guidelines on, rather than just saying, hey, we're going to have Sunday school, let's pick some curriculum, but really taking some time to evaluate and talking to the parents. Maybe Sunday school isn't the thing anymore. Maybe it's a, an after school, time once a week is better. Maybe it is intergenerational. They'd rather come together with families. I keep going back and forth, screen sharing or not. I didn't want to share an article. I don't think I put it on there. And it was, I can't remember where it was shared. But one of the things they talked about was a suggestion for preschool kids that I really liked, that I think, again, we may explore this because we don't have many preschool families coming, is instead of a Sunday school class for preschoolers, a class for families. And it sounds like, Ellen, that's what you had done. And so the parents come with their kids. In part, well, a big part is to help parents learn/realize they are the primary Christian educators of their children. And that's been the mantra for as long as any of us have been in educational ministry in the church, but it's worth repeating. Parents are the primary Christian educators of their children, and they are often ill-equipped for that role. So, whether it's sharing more resources, for us, we thought, well, if we have them come in, even if we'll just commit to once a month, we'll do a simple story, a few questions, a simple craft, and figure if nothing else, maybe they'll talk about it with their child that week, or they'll realize their kids can actually have some faith conversations at a much younger age than they've considered. So that's kind of, for us, we've never tried that before, but I'm not going to do it till I talk to my parents. I'm not going to, try to do that kind of programming. So curriculum. Many of you choose curriculum on a regular basis. I want to pull up, this is the catalog for the PCUSA. They do give a really brief tips for choosing curriculum. It's not, I've seen better lists because it's more saying this is why you should buy ours. So, but it's still worth a reminder to us, and make it a tiny bit bigger for you. In the tips for choosing curriculum, consider the age group of the needs they have, children, youth, adults. Age appropriate, of course, is always key. The theology of the curriculum, and that's really why most of our time together, I really want to look at a little bit of what the PCUSA offers. Not that you have to do PCUSA. Methodists have some nice stuff. The evangelical Lutherans have some nice stuff. I want to convince you not just to pull up Christian Bookstore online, what is it, Christian Book Distributor, and see one that has a pretty color and click on it. Theology can be really poor in what would otherwise be Christian curriculum. And we'll come back to a little bit. Sample curriculum is always good. Online samples are really easy to get anymore. So you ought to be able to get a sample of what you want. I don't know what your process has been in your churches. This talks about review your options with others. And then of course, ask if you need help with them. Let me stop share for a second. What is the process you use in your church for selecting curriculum? Who does it? Ellen?
I do it.
Is it you and you alone? Do you seek input?
I pretty much do it.
Okay. You take it to CE, because officially, it should be approved by the session.
Really?
Yes. That's one of the session responsibilities, is to approve.
Don't tell.
I won't, and no one else. Everyone raise your right hand, be sworn to secrecy.
I've never even been told that. So that's good. Yeah. It makes sense.
Yeah.
If session knows any, but anyway.
Well, and again, the reality is, Ellen, you are a I don't want to use the word smart with it, but theologically astute person. And you just letting anybody pick whatever they want to teach, probably 90% of the time is going to work out really well. But you could get somebody in a church,
Yes,
picking stuff that
it makes sense.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that you look for in curriculum, Ellen?
Oh dear. We like to teach chronologically, through the Bible. So I look for curriculum that does that. I look for things that will be very easy for teachers, but I haven't picked a curriculum for 2.5 years. So yeah, something that's easy for teachers. And again, goes through the Old Testament in chronological order and the New Testament in chronological order. Those are.
Thanks. So how about some of the rest of you? Who picks curriculum? How is that process done? And what do you look for? Alice Karen, how about you in your church? How does that happen?
I do most of the selection. I would talk to the pastor, and then what we do, our form of checking back with the session, so to speak, is when the Christian Ed report comes to session, then when they accept the report and it would have that information in it, then they've said, okay.
Okay. What do you look for in curriculum?
Well, Bible, true to the Bible, and those kind of things. And also that there are activities that are going to engage, and yet they're easy for the teacher to do and not have to go searching for lots of materials and things.
Okay.
Then we have a closet full of arts and crafts stuff.
Yeah. Susan, how about you?
Well, we have the youth. So our last pastor, the youth were concerned with understanding everything during the service. So I would research the scripture and things beforehand and write for that Sunday as an introduction to church, partially because they were skipping church to go back to the youth room. So I was hoping that would kind of motivate them to go upstairs. We are currently using one of the confirmation class materials for our confirmation class, but it has so many sessions in it.
Mhm.
And next year, our once-a-month gathering will continue that until the curriculum ends.
What are you using?
I knew you were gonna ask me that, and I cannot. Pastor's doing it. We looked through it. I cannot think of the name of it right now.
The one we just finished was big God, big questions. Does that ring a bell?
And I've been out of commission for a while for other reasons.
Yeah, that's fine. There's a couple. Melinda, don't want to put you on the spot, and you don't need to share if you don't want, but how?
I shout it out in 5 minutes. Just ignore my outbursts. All right.
I'm usually I would choose curriculum, I guess, with some of the Sunday school teachers or the Christian Ed committee. We've been using the same curriculum for several years. So, and then through COVID, we didn't have Sunday school for a while, and then we did, and then we didn't. And so, and we have a small church, and the number of children has really dwindled. There were a lot that haven't come back since COVID. So, some Sundays we don't have any kids there. And so we look for a curriculum that kind of covers a large span of ages, because we just put them all together. And the one we've been using has kind of modules. So you choose the story, and then it has like a module for, there's storytelling, there's art, there's cooking, there's science, and it, with the same story, it goes through, you know, different crafts and things to do with it, or activities.
So you're using
So,
a rotation model.
yes, there we go. Yeah.
That's the official
Yes.
title for that.
I haven't been doing this very long, so I'm not
That's all right. That's
not
all right.
good with the.
You described it really well, which is all that counts.
It works really well for us, so it's easy for the teachers to prepare the lessons, and so yeah.
Nice, nice. And Joan, I think you're unable to have a mic, so if you want to type anything in, we'd be glad to share it, or you can just be the listener. What is an indication to you, this is the general question, that something is not good curriculum? What are your red flags? You think of any?
I move past a curriculum that, in your words, I feel like the theology isn't real deep or real strong.
Anything you can think of, any buzzwords or phrases or ideas that are a fairly quick indication to you of a problem with it?
I steer away from the base, you know, the if you do this, you're going to hell kind of thing, you know, that more towards the stories without a whole lot of interpretation of it. You know, sometimes I go to that sermons for kids just to get a worksheet or and it just feels like a theology that I just don't agree with. So I don't use the theology. I just sometimes use an idea or
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's one of the things. Again, it can be, for folks who don't look at a lot of curriculum, it can be easy to be enchanted by colorful and lots of activities. But for me, the salvation theology, I think to me it's really important for kids. Well, for all ages, but particularly for kids. For me, it's if the curriculum is too heaven focused. In other words, you know, heaven when you die or hell when you die, and here's the right decisions to make. I just think that loses, you know, kids become fear-based that way. And why do they have a faith? They have a faith because they're afraid of what will happen if they don't. Whereas I like to find curriculum that is very much life application, the joy of life in Christ right now, today, in our lives, and how do we spread that? And so that's kind of what I look for in curriculum. Any other thoughts on that? Anybody else give much thought to that? Again, some people give a lot of thought to it, and others it's kind of a new thing to think on.
I think, speaking of the pandemic, these kids have missed social life. So we brought more action in this year, things to do together. And those have absolutely been their favorite of favorites, and still time for some sharing or that sort of thing. But just, we went axe throwing, you know, and that's okay. They just thought,
oh my gosh, yeah.
But that definitely was their top favorite this year. But they've also done food bank, habitat, you know, that sort of thing.
Sure.
I just think that's what they're craving. They're craving with being with other kids without restriction.
Yeah. So let me go back to sharing again, a little bit then of what the PCUSA has. And again, you can get your own catalog. This is actually, I just realized this is the 21-22, but it's going to give you the ideas for next fall anyway. It's and there's really three curriculum that PCUSA has to offer for children. There's a little content page. The first one is Follow Me. And this is one that is, see, I knew it was going to let me blow it up very big. That's always the challenge with that kind of thing. It's the focus is, as they say, biblical practices for faithful living. And it is modular based. And so if you look over here on the right, even though it's a little tiny, and I apologize for that. Let me see if it'll, oh, there we go. Yay, let me do it. They are putting out, oh, no, it stopped again.
I'm back.
Yeah, okay. I'll wait for a second. These are the practices in their 4 to 6 week. They have younger children aged 3 to 5, multi-age kids 6 to 10, youth 11 to 18, and adults, and all kinds of extra stuff. But basically they are, for 4 weeks, they do these different themes, 4 to 6 weeks. So what has been out now this past year, you can read the list there: Follow Jesus, Welcome All, Confess, Hope, Baptize, Living Community. And then one that was Lent, particularly practice spiritual disciplines, practice joy, honor God's diversity, sing a new song, make peace, practice generosity. And then the thought is then they'll be starting to release another set. So in theory, it's a 3-year. Within the 3 year, you don't repeat anything. But of course, you don't have to commit for 3 years. You buy the modules that you like, and you can build your own. I will say, Hope, for example, is an Advent focused. Announce the Realm of God in year 2 is an Advent focus. So they do have an Advent and Lent, but this is a very different approach. It's certainly not teaching the Bible chronologically. It's not story based, but I'm intrigued by the focus on the spiritual practices. It's got the little box in the middle of the page there. A living faith is so much more than simply believing in God. Jesus called all sorts of people to follow him to God, showing concrete ways to love God and one another. When we do these actions together, faith develops, lives change, and communities transform. And of course, each of these does Bible stories. I mean, you're learning the Bible, but it doesn't start with the Bible. Some folks have used this for Sunday school. Some people who have done midweek or intergenerational have tried and done well with these. But again, in this catalog, you can look at samples. We did our story is we've been doing Feasting on the Word, which is lectionary based. I think we're in year 5. After year 3, when there was going to be a change, it was COVID, and so now the teachers are like, we really want something different. So I think we're going to try this in the fall, and see what, pick 3 of the sessions and give it a try for fall. But again, you can, in the catalog / webpage, there's all kinds of information. There's a congregational guide, there's worship helps, there's intergenerational session, there's a piece for taking the practice home. So there's a lot of resources with it. I do know some churches that, again, everybody did Hope at Advent. Children, youth, adults, that was the sermon series. It was just all together. So again, it's different than we certainly have been lectionary based for a long time, Bible story focused, but I'm interested in giving this one a try. There is a video. Let's see, which one is it? No, one of my little thingies up here. I'll show you that one in a minute. Anyway, if you go on the PCUSA store website, there's a video that talks through, it's a little 3 to 5 minute video that gives more information about Follow Me. So for us, it kind of falls into, well, we're going to try new things anyway. So let's see if this is how this goes. So that's one. Another one then, so there's another Follow Me. It goes more specifically into what's available, the activities and that kind of stuff. A second one from PCUSA is Growing in God's Love. And this is called a Story Bible Curriculum. It's centered on this Growing in God's Love, a Story Bible that is available, of course, just separately. But it sort of, the Bible came out and then folks said, I love this Bible. Can we teach from it? And so it is also in units that you pick and arrange the order you want them. 148 stories that they have, 35 units in 3, 4, or 5 sessions, intergenerational activities, unit overviews. And so this is, see if I will let me slide. Yes. So that there are your unit titles. So again, for those who do like to walk through in order, you can do that.
Right.
You can pick Abraham and Sarah, Esau and Jacob. There's a broad one like brave women in the Old Testament. But because they have new ones coming out all the time, you can, again, and I apologize, I don't have the flyer for fall, which I should have. So for example, if you wanted to really emphasize Old Testament, you can pick creation, Abraham, Sarah, Esau, Jacob, and then jump down here. There's the Exodus, Joshua, Elijah. This sometimes can do stories that maybe get overlooked in some curriculum. So again, you can decide for yourself what haven't we done? You know, one of the things about choosing new curriculum, a lot of new curriculum starts with Abraham and or Moses. And so if you switch around to new curriculum, I know our teachers, when we started our new one 5 years ago, said, every curriculum we do Abraham and Moses, and they know, the kids know those too. So if that's your situation, you can jump on, you know, again, Elijah, Elisha. Right. Probably don't know those stories, Job and Jonah, kind of thing. And so this is, again, a curriculum that's it gives you all its, let me see if we can get over here, you know, all its little rhythm of the sessions, you know, enter the space, read the story, engage, wrestle, bless, you know, all the things that a good curriculum will tell you that it does and does well. But this would be something to be worth looking at. And then the last one is one that's been around a bit of time, Growing in Grace and Gratitude. And this is a quarterly. This is a more, quote, traditional quarterly denominational curriculum. This one is for ages 3 to 10 with a toddler resource, which I can show you more. I think I've got that over. Yes, I have that over there in the corner. But this particular one is, you know, as always, the Bible background, the information that comes with it. And so this has the fall, let me see, hold on, I gotta move this around a little bit. I'm trying to see, but as I said, so this is a quarterly resource. Is there one more page of it? Yes. So here's the scope and sequence. You're probably all familiar with that phrase. Scope and sequence just basically tells you what a curriculum is doing, when are they doing it. So as I said, apologies, this is fall 21. I should have falls 22, and I didn't even think of that when I pulled up this catalog. But so this, again, is more chronological than lectionary based. So it started with Abraham and the promise and Ishmael, Joseph saves the people, you know, Old Testament in the fall, moves into the life of Jesus and New Testament in the winter. Let me go up here. Yes. Spring story. And of course it, you know, it's lectionary, or it's church year based. So it does Easter and Lenten, Easter and Advent, Christmas as it should. It goes into Pentecost then, there Acts chapter 2 on June 5th, and then moving into the summer. So it's just another, and like I said, I'm really, no one from the denomination pays me to do any of this. But if you got to start looking, why not look here at stuff that you know is going to be theologically sound? And if you really look and you don't like any of it, then that's okay. Mm-hmm. So this catalog, then, which we'll come back to, but I'm going to share this with you, which is kind of PCUSA store website is not great. Let's just be frank, upfront about that. This is a quick little video. It's just a 3-minute little video that, you know, how to use it, how to find it, where the samples are, where you can watch a little video overview. So let me run this real quick.
Welcome everybody. I'm Katie, the curriculum curriculum specialist, and I'm here to show you around the PCUSA store website. So today I want to give you a few tips and tricks that are going to make looking for new curriculum so much easier. The first thing I want to draw your attention to is this banner up at the top. So we have several banners that rotate through on a regular basis, and these are going to showcase new things. So if you're looking for what's new, this is the best place to start. And all of these banners are clickable, so you can click on them and go and learn more about whatever it is that you see. Now, if you're not sure what curricula is going to work best for your congregation, then I highly recommend you start with our catalog. And we always link to our catalog at the bottom of the home page. So here you can see the link to this year's catalog. And if you click on that, it'll open it up in a new window for you. And you can take a look at
That's where we just were.
What's inside this catalog and learn more about it. You can also download it to a PDF if you like. Next up, I want to talk about the different tabs that we have at the top. These all bring down different drop-down menus. And for the curriculum tab, we have some really helpful things here. You want to start actually with learn more. So in this section, there are actually different links to different pages that are informational about each curriculum line. So we can go to the Follow Me one here, and you can see that on this page, we have information about what Follow Me is. There's a video you can watch. There's different pages you can click on. There's a sample you can download. There's other downloads. There's more information about how Follow Me works and the different practices that it has. You can click on any of these buttons, and there's even some great pricing information up here that you can click on. And at the bottom, you'll see where you can go to shop. After that, if you know exactly what you're looking for, you know, I want the Follow Me units for children, or I want the faith question units for youth, then you can actually click on the different lines under these different subheadings based on what age group you're looking for. So once you click on one of these different age group curriculum lines, you'll actually see some further headings that help you narrow down what you're looking for. So if you just need the infographics for Follow Me, it's easy to find them. If you're looking for something else, like the packages, they're easy to find. One other thing I wanted to mention is that whenever you see our products listed, they're going to be listed by what's most recently been published. So if something's on pre-order, it's going to be at the top of the list. If something's already out, it's going to be at the bottom, which may mean you have to go to a different page to see that. So let's talk about the search bar. This is really useful only if you know the specific title and unit of what you're trying to find. So for example, let's say we're looking at one of the Welcome All units from Follow Me curriculum, then here, what you'll see is just that, just the Welcome All units, nothing, not much else. But you'll also see, if you go far enough, that there may be a couple of other things here that also have Welcome All in there. Finally, I wanted to mention that if you get really stuck, you can always talk to our customer service, which you can find through our Contact Us page. So I hope this helps you learn a little bit more about how to navigate as you start to think about what curriculum you need to purchase. You know exactly where to go to find it.
Okay, I think that to me, the most helpful thing was when you go to the PCOS. Oh, sorry, she's still talking. I don't think we really need the microbalance for your pet's health. Hold on a second. Let me get rid of that. There we go. Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't stop it in the right place. But because if you go to curriculum and you just click straight on Follow Me, it's going to take you to the ordering page, which, as she said, you want to go over to learn more, and that's where you'll get the big overview information. And so I thought that was worth reminding folks of. Questions, comments about anything you've seen, anything, any of those curriculum that we've talked about. So in recap, Growing in Grace and Gratitude and the Growing in God's Love both start with growing.
Right.
Those are just children. The only youth option in what we just shared is the Follow Me. There are other youth options. Faith Questions is a really nice resource. It's also in the catalog there, which is also modular. Like there's faith question on prayer, there's faith question on, and so our youth teachers are going to mix a Follow Me resource followed by a faith questions resource, because they're different styles of approach. So, you know, the nice thing is, you know, you can mix and match as you look at stuff. Other questions, comments, anything? So let me share then. So that's all the PCUSA store. Another place that can be very helpful. I don't know if you're familiar with buildingfaith.org. Let me see if I can get that. Is that going to come? There it goes. This is through Virginia Tech Theological Seminary, which is Episcopalian, but they do have a really nice resource that even us Presbyterians can use. And they talk about, you know, the right curriculum, how do you decide, your context, your goals, all this kind of thing. And they have just put out these articles very recently, which is top picks for adult Christian formation, top picks for youth ministry, top picks for children's ministry curriculum. And so if you go through the PCUSA stuff and you say, you know what, nah, I don't love any of it, here's the next place you can go to feel like somebody has helped you to kind of screen for theology. Another thing with curriculum is inclusiveness. Are all the examples of white kids, you know, are all the examples of men from the Bible, and you don't really have women in the Bible? Does Jesus look suspiciously European in the illustrations? That kind of thing that matters more to some than others, granted. But this, you can feel really confident in it. So for example, in the building top picks for children's ministry curriculum, again, were you to go to that page, then they, I'm going to scroll down here a little bit. They talk about, there's more articles in the curriculum center to help how to use the list. They have their top picks, the name of the curriculum, the publisher, the denomination. And so this is, as I said, this just gives you a little summary. If you don't like the PCUSA stuff, another place to look. And again, this is going to be Lutheran and Methodist, Celebrate Wonder, the Faith for Life, Feasting on the Word, which is what we use. We really liked it. It's just been 5 years, and I have mostly the same teachers, and they're kind of like,
Wow.
we want something new. Yeah. So it does have Follow Me, which is nice. You know, that they thought that was a good one. Growing God's Love they've got. So yeah, so that, like I said, that's just if you're not familiar with Building Faith, it's a good. I'll tell you the other one over here that's a really nice is they review Vacation Bible Schools. My guess is that most of you are well into that if you're going to do that this year, but they do have a nice review of those, and again, particularly as they relate to is this you know, an inclusive message? Is this how is it presented? What's the focus? Sort of thing. So for example, if any of you do group publisher curriculum, if you've ever done that for Vacation Bible School, you know the fourth day is always the salvation story.
Yes.
No matter what else you're doing, you could be in the middle of Moses, you could be in the middle of Paul. Thursday, they always jump back to the salvation story. And maybe you're okay with that, and that's fine. Or maybe you think, you know what, I really like to just keep doing Moses. And so again, that's just something that you start learning about curriculum.
Right.
I'll point out that, again, there's other really good articles, suggestions on how to read curriculum. Do you have benchmarks for Christian ed? Questions to ask about evaluating curriculum? Just, like I said, a really trustworthy resource. And that's really what I really like about that. Let me see if I can change screen share. Did I lose you all? You're still there? I think it worked. So Building Faith is as I said, a resource. PCUSA didn't float your boat. Have a look at Build Faith, because they're going to give you good stuff. The next thing I'm going to cheat just a little bit, and that is last May we had an adult curriculum conversation. I was going to go look and see if it was recorded, so we'll go find out together if it was. But I have for you as a handout, the handout from last year's adult curriculum resources. And I'll be very frank, I did not go back through and review it. So it was good enough for a year ago. It's going to be good enough now. But these are some adult curriculum ideas. Again, I don't know if any of you, most of you, some of you are involved in choosing curriculum for adult Sunday school, small group, any sort of thing. And so here are a whole bunch. Let me just highlight a few. Follow Me, we've already mentioned. The spiritual practices, the point. Feasting on the Word, lectionary based, again, is one that if you like that idea, you can look at for kids as well. Theo Academy is a fun resource. It's lots of videos on particularly about being the church, and they're almost all free, and we love free. The Present Word is the old standby of what used to be called the Uniform Lesson Series, but it's good stuff. You know, if you've got adults who really want to do the Bible, Present Word is a really good traditional standby kind of resource. The Thoughtful Christian is downloadable lessons, 1 to 6 weeks on topics, more topics than you can even imagine. But again, it's worth having a look at their website. Horizons, PW Bible Study. And if you don't have a PW, they offer excellent in-depth study. The one they just finished up is on women, things my grandmother told me. I think that's what it was called. Anyway, women in the Bible. It was very, very good. There's a series, and this series, scrolling down, is on the PCUSA store, Basic Understanding. These are mini courses for adults on the Reformed faith. Again, good, just good, solid stuff. And then here are some other, again, at the time they were random, but kind of tried and true. Are you familiar with the Bible Project? Anybody familiar with that? I'm seeing a couple.
Just the online.
Yes.
Mhm.
It's I think quite good. And
Find
they're
do
short.
you find-
Have
do
you
you
go ahead,
find that-
Ellen?
Do you find the theology you agree with?
Surprisingly, yes.
Okay.
I wasn't sure.
Mhm.
I still would screen them all because I certainly haven't seen nearly all of them, but I did 4 weeks on the Shema
Okay.
based on that. And so 1 week was love God with your heart. 1 week was your soul. 1 week was your mind. 1 week was your strength. A little series that they did, and it was great. This
Okay.
is a Bible Project. Let me pull that up just real fast so you can have a look at it. It's to be blunt, it's free. It's also a add water and stir kind of thing. Let me let's just pull up one at random.
Kathy, is it a curriculum or just, I've
No.
just seen the video. Okay, it's just the videos.
Yes, it's just the videos.
Okay.
If you have a good conversation group,
Got it.
which the group I happen to do, but let's say Yahweh, what's God's name? And so you watch it. They do have some discussion tips on some of them,
Okay.
which is great. Trying to let's see, where is it? So I can, I don't want the tips. Well, I may not be able to show it to you. I thought we could just kind of watch it. I'll try it one more time. I don't know, maybe just because of my my screen doesn't want me to get that far. Anyway, it's animated videos. But again, I think they're quite good. Let's see, let me go back to where I was here. The Wired Word. Have any of you are familiar with the Wired Word?
No.
The Wired Word is, as it says, weekly lessons on what's in the news. That's what we're going to do this summer. We've done it in the past in the summer. And when you go to the Wired Word, I want to say it's like $9 a month. The lesson comes out on Thursday for the following Sunday. That's how contemporary it is. Let me pull that up real quick. As it says, fresh and engaging Bible study material for your adult Sunday school class or small group. So let's look at a sample here. So for example, they will have done in the news. It comes with 2 different Bible study lessons that do current event news, applying the story, questions about it, scripture references, and they always offer 2 different ones. So if there's one you didn't like, let me pull up, see if it'll let me pull up this last sample lesson or not. Again, for some reason, they're not wanting me to open stuff very much here. Let me try that. Keep asking to view.
I don't think we can see it. Can
Oh, here we go. How about this? Do you have a view sample lesson? Does it say that at the top? Book bannings. Are you seeing that?
I think, can the rest of you just see her first page?
Okay, let me try again.
Yeah, we're just seeing your resource page.
Okay, let me try this. How about that?
That's looking
Yes.
better.
Yes. So this is, thank you for telling me that. It's hard to know what you all are seeing.
Mhm.
So this is a sample lesson. So it's on book bannings. This is from back in February. And so they tell you the news stories that go with it. So there's, when I teach this, we read it or summarize this in class. More on the story, the big questions that they ask, confronting it with scripture. Sometimes the scripture is really good. Sometimes they've obviously had to really stretch to make it fit, but they do it every week. But there's scripture that they apply. And with each scripture is some questions and then further discussion. So as I said, it's really kind of a fun.
Yeah.
Stop share and pull that back.
Okay.
So it's sorry, now I've lost track. Let me try again this screen share back to here. So you're back on the resource page?
Mhm. Yes.
Right. So that's another one, very inexpensive. As I said, that's one you really need a facilitator. You don't even need anybody who's doing any prep. We read the article together, we read the discussion question and discuss. And you read, when you're done, somebody who says, okay, next question, or look up the scripture. So it's a kind of a fun one. What we found was some weeks we liked them both. And so we kind of mental note for a week if we didn't like either, and we can go back and pick up.
Oh, nice.
Pick
Yeah.
up the one, because occasionally they'll do one you think, I don't know why would they do that. But anyway, if your church, that's a fun resource. And then there's a whole bunch of video series. Ray Vanderland, he has, I think there's up to 17 maybe series. It's called That the World May Know. They're filmed in the Holy Land, and he walks around with the Holy Land. His early ones with a smaller group, the later ones have gotten more and more polished. And I've noticed he's gotten more and more, how do I want to say, dynamic in his presentation. So you just got to take that. But that would be one, for example, we have half a dozen of them, and I'd be glad to lend them to anybody. But they come with the video, and the videos are fairly long. They're, probably 18 to 25 minutes. And it comes with a discussion question. But that's, it just is like, I'm trying to think, it does the story from the book of Revelation, when it talks about the churches, the 7 churches. If you recall, one of the churches, I won't remember which one, Paul says, you are neither hot nor cold. Well, Paul doesn't say in the book of Revelation, sorry. John writes, God says, you're neither hot nor cold, so I spit you out of my mouth. What's that from? So they take you to this aqueduct that would have the spring water and the hot springs water that come in. The each by themselves are good, but when they mix, and they're there. He's there and he shows you and he pulls out biblical stuff. They're very cool. Again, our people really like them. We probably do Vandalin at least once a year because our group really likes them. But I've got some of those. So if you want to borrow one, you also, if you look on YouTube for Ray Vanderland, some of his are on there for free. I'm never quite sure why, but hey, it's on YouTube, so that must make it right.
Right.
Then other videos, Adam Hamilton, who again, he hasn't had an unvideoed thought from the pulpit. I'm pretty confident. If he's preached it, it's a video series now. But he's done some really nice ones, good Methodist pastor. So he's quite good. Animate is a 7-week series. Sorry, yes, 3 7-week series, one on faith, one on Bible, one on practices. Creative, a little more hip. If you can we use the word hip if we're not really hip?
Yes, you can.
Thank you. Amy Jo Levine has some really nice videos. She's a Jewish New Testament scholar, which is an interesting combo, but she's got some really nice videos. Then, of course, there's some of the more traditional Kerygma and Disciple, which offer both short and long-term Bible studies. And again, you used to be able to buy each of them only in their whole, you bought into the whole thing. You had to go to the training and everything.
Right.
Anymore, you don't. Anymore, they're available, again, 4 to 6 to 8 week or a year Bible studies. You can get, get the Psalms. You can get Kings. You can get anything you'd want on those. And then a more creative video, and I say curriculum, called The Work of the People. I found it takes a little more work to put things together, but if your folks like video things, it's super. It's really, it's got some creative stuff in it. It just takes a little more, somebody wants to put stuff together. Then last but not least, there's Gen On Ministries, which is the former Logos. Some of you might be familiar with. But they're really big on intergenerational stuff. So they have tons of resources. If your church wants to do some intergenerational, they have lots and lots of intergenerational curriculum. Let me add to the bottom of this, if it'll let me, just because, Melinda, as you were describing, if you go to rotation.org, it has a lot of this rotation idea for curriculum, that you have one story and 1 week you do the art and 1 week you cook and 1 week you do the science and 1 week you do a craft, or they're usually 4 weeks. But again, you can become a paid member of that, but they have an awful lot of stuff that's free. So that's a nice, rotation.org is a good resource. And that's not so much adult, this is back to children. So in fact, I'm going to take it off of there, and in our handout here, I'm going to add it back up here under choosing curriculum and adult curriculum. Yeah, let me add it here just so we don't get too confused. So other curriculum that you all use and like. Close that out for a second.
Kathy, before you leave that, is someone really having lots of success with the intergenerational, or is, I mean, we keep looking at it, but
that's a great question. Ellen, you mentioned you had done at least some family, parents and kids together. Have you done other intergenerational stuff?
That Wednesday night thing is intergenerational. But were you talking specifically about Gen On, Alice, Karen, or
no, just
okay?
Using that concept.
Yeah. Like I said, the flocks model where the families all came together was very good for about 6 or 8 weeks, and then.
Okay.
Two things I will say. One, the Gen On Ministry website will give you all kinds of background rationale for why intergenerational is the way to go. They are real cheerleaders and proponents of it. And so it's probably worth reading some of their articles and the why of the intergenerational. Honestly, I've seen it work really well in some churches and others not. And it's really your adults. Do you have adults that want to hang out with kids or not?
Mm-hmm.
That's what intergenerational stuff comes down to.
That's a good way to state it, frankly.
It is. I mean, your kids aren't saying, "Oh, I'm not going because grown-ups are there." It's a grown-ups who are saying, "Well, they'll make me do crafts," or kids will be loud or sticky, whatever. Mm-hmm. So you've got to have a critical mass of adults who will try it, and it may be you know, maybe even more luck in some ways in a smaller church to say, look, we are who we are. This is us. This is, you know, we don't have multiple hundreds of people to choose from. So let's do this together. But for any size, I do think it's a sell job to your adults that this is important and this is worth trying.
Thank you.
Like I said, Jen on the website will give you lots of.
Now, I've looked at quite a bit of their stuff.
Yeah. And honestly, it really, use COVID as your excuse. You know what? Let's try something new. I'm serious. You know, we haven't really done this. Let's try this. And you do a one-off or a 2 to 3 week series that you prepare really well and you have really good materials and you see what happens. And it bombs, it bombs, it bombs. Okay, well, now you know that didn't work. But if there's a chance that you have some people who say, you know what, that was really cool to sit by little Jimmy. And he really talked about, he remembered his baptism story. And when we made that shell together and then we went into the sanctuary and looked at the water, I really could see it through his eyes. Maybe that would happen. Or they'd say, that was really stupid. I don't know why we did that. So
Right.
It's 50-50. But I think it's great to try. Other thoughts? Anybody else with intergenerational stuff?
I think my favorite pre-pandemic was a one-day Bible school. We did many things together, and then there was an adult study and there were children's studies. But I agree with you, the craft. Well, a better example, when the naturalists brought the snakes, it was the adult women that ran away and the kids that were saying, let me see more, you know. So I think it was good. It was really fun. It was really, and then we ended with a congregational then potluck with a long table outside of that. I think that has been, the adults turned into kids, basically.
Yeah.
The water.
Again, it can be a really powerful experience. It just, your adults have to be willing to buy into it.
And for most of our congregation, a great grandparent day, you know, bring the grandkids to that.
Well, and that's, you know, again, I think there are lots of ways to sell it with that in mind. You know, you're helping raise your children in faith, and this is one way to do that. And so come give it a try, and, you know, be mindful as you plan these that you don't go with your goofiest games or your stickiest craft. You know, ease them in, but don't be afraid to offer that. Don't be afraid to say, let's do this activity together. Yeah. If you do it, Alice, Karen, let us know. Let's know how it goes. We want a good report.
All right, thank you.
And the young adults of the congregation are coming to youth group above the 8 youth. We invited them this year.
Okay.
They've been a real help and learned also.
Nice.
Discussions between the youth and the young adults is pretty interesting.
Well, and Susan, that's a really good example. Intergenerational doesn't have to mean the great grandparent to the little babies. Anytime there's more than one generation, so your youth and young adults, that's some intergenerational. If you've got elementary kids and your youth do things together, in young adults and older adults. So intergenerational can be really broad like that as well. And so trying that in little ways in your congregation, I think could be really.
Well, just a little simple thing that started happening kind of automatic or just happened last year when we talked about high school graduates, then some folks named their grandchildren, you know, and first we said, well, you know, and then we thought that's our congregation. And this year we have named 12 graduates, but some of them are their associate degree, and one is a father and his daughter both have received their associate degree this spring.
Wow.
You know, it just kind of gets people looking a little differently.
Sure. And that's so much of what, when you talk about becoming, you know, being a vital congregation, it's not just about the people who come in our doors. It's about going out, and part of going out is to our broader church family. So it is including the kids and the grandkids and the, other folks to know they're acknowledged by a church, maybe that makes a difference to them.
Yeah.
You never know what seed you're planting.
Exactly. Yeah, well said. So that's really, I think that's the end of the resource that I have. I added rotation. Anything else? Any other resource to add? Oh, sorry. Two other things I do have to tell you real quick. First is, hope you already all know this. Okay, sorry, I have to stop share and share again to make sure I'm not doing this wrong on YouTube here, making people dizzy. I hope you all know, if you don't, that Presbytery has a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So if you go to YouTube and then you put in Scioto Valley, oh, if I can spell it right, I have a bookmark, but Scioto Valley Presbytery. And then you click on, here it is, Scioto Valley Presbytery. And you go to playlists. This is where we have videos that we have been doing in our presbytery. Education spirituality over here. If you look, you can see last year's summer idea exchanges there. The PI events we've done, faith formation, clergy self-care, elder training from 2021, 2022. PI events are all there. Back in March, several folks who went to APSE, the Association of Partners with Christian Education, shared. That one's on there. This one will be on here. So we'll put it on here. So again, we're trying to get our resources better in one place. But there's PW, there's Matthew 25, there's Global Mission, again, to look at there. And then the last really resource that I think I put on here, yeah, if you're a Facebook person at all, go like Hope for CE, Church Educators, and Church Educators of the Presbytery Scioto Valley. They are all, to varying degree, places that you could put in a question. You know, I'm looking for Bible for my preschooler. What do you suggest? I'm looking for some ideas for, I've got 2 kids in youth age. What do you do with 2 kids? I'm looking for a gift for our high school graduates. What do you have? All of those, Hope for CE and Church Educators are big. Church Educators, Presbytery Valley, I think there's a dozen of us on, but it can always grow. And you can say, hey, does anybody have a Ray Vanderland video I could borrow? And then I'll put on there, yes, you can borrow ours. But like I said, if you do Facebook, they have the little search engines on there. I've used those probably a dozen times in the last 2 months, looking for suggestions for graduate gifts, for children's Bibles. We give Bibles to preschoolers. Looking for, I'm on one that's on the Bible school. We're doing Compassion Camp. Just really make you, it's linking you up with other educators. Okay, I talked a lot. It's been kind of fire hose like. Final questions, comments. You know, I hope this has been a helpful hour and 20 minutes to give you some new ideas. I will send you the links, the page I have with all those links on it. I'll send that out like right now. If you think of other topics you would like to toss around, let me know. We'll do it. We're easy. We can do anything.
This was good. Thank you, Kathy.
You're
Thank
very
you.
welcome.
I add that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
very
Yeah.
helpful.
So again, if you have something you would like to talk about, ideas you would like, brainstorming, challenges, just let me know and we'll throw it out there. You know, maybe Alice Karen, maybe having one on intergenerational ministry, who's doing it well, who's looking into it, and get folks to share about that. Could be helpful. All right. Thank you, ladies. Have a great evening. Glad you could be on for this sharing, and I'll get this resource sent out.
Yeah, we've got homework to do.
Yes, well, yes, you do. And
Yeah.
please don't hesitate to call if I can, you know, offer any help, suggestions, advice. That's why I'm here. So you got my email. I'm kathybub@gmail.com. It can't get much easier than that. So
All right.
give me a buzz. All right. Thanks, ladies.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Bye,
Good night.
everybody.